हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। तो आज की वीडियो में हम देखने वाले हैं एनसीईआरटी ज्योग्राफी क्लास 8, जिसमें आज हम देखेंगे चैप्टर 2, जो कि है लैंड, सॉइल, वाटर, नेचुरल वेजिटेशन एंड वाइल्ड लाइफ रिसोर्सेज। तो शुरू करते हैं हमारा आज का चैप्टर। इन ए स्मॉल विलेज इन Tanzania, Africa, Mamba gets up very early in the morning to fetch water. She has to walk a long way and return after a few hours. She then helps her mother in the house and joins her brothers in taking care of their goats. All her family owns is a piece of rocky land around the small hut. Mamba's father can barely grow some maize and beans on it after toiling hard. This is not enough to feed their family for the whole year. Peter lives in the heart of the sheep-rearing region in New Zealand, where his family runs a wool processing factory. Every day when he returns from school, Peter watches his uncle taking care of their sheep. Their sheep yard is situated on a wide grassy plain with hills in the far distance. It is managed in a scientific way using the latest technology. Peter's family also grows vegetables through organic farming. Mamba and Peter stay in two different parts of the world and lead very different lives. This difference is because of the differences in the quality of land, soil, water, natural vegetation, animals, and the uses of technology. The availability of such resources is the main reason places differ from each other. Do you know 90% of the world population occupies only 30% of the land area? The remaining 70% of the land is either sparsely populated or uninhabited. Land. Land is among the most important and natural resources. It covers only about 30% of the total area of the Earth's surface, and all parts of this small percentage are not habitable. The uneven distribution of population in different parts of the world is mainly due to varied characteristics of land and climate. The rock topography, steep slope of the mountains, low-lying areas susceptible to water, logging, desert areas, thick forested areas are normally sparsely populated or uninhabited. Plains and river valleys often offer suitable land for agriculture. Hence, these are the densely populated areas of the world. Land use. Land is used for different purposes such as agriculture, forestry, mining, building houses, roads, and setting up of industries. This is commonly termed as land use. Can you list out the different ways in which members and Peter's family use their land? The use of land is determined by physical factors such as topography, soil, climate, minerals, and availability of water. Human factors such as population and technology are also important determinants of land use pattern. Land can also be divided on the basis of private land and community land. Private land is owned by individuals, whereas community land is owned by the community for common uses like collection of fodder, fruits, nuts, or medicinal herbs. These community lands are also called common property resources. People and their demands are ever growing, but the availability of land is limited. The quality of land also differs from place to place. People started encroaching the common lands to build up commercial areas, housing complexes in the urban areas, and to expand the agricultural land in the rural areas. Today, the vast changes in land use pattern also reflect the cultural changes in our society. Land degradation, landslides, soil erosion, desertification are the major threats to the environment because of the expansion of agriculture and constructional activities. Conservation of land resource. Growing population and the ever-growing demand has led to a large-scale destruction of forest cover and arable land, and has created a fear of losing this natural resource. Therefore, the present rate of degradation of land resources must be checked. Afforestation, land reclamation, regulated use of chemical pesticides and fertilizers, and checks on overgrazing are some of the common methods used to conserve land. Landslides. Landslides are simply defined as the mass movement of rocks, debris, or earth down a slope. These often take place in conjunction with earthquakes, floods, and volcanoes. A prolonged spell of rainfall can cause heavy landslide that can block the flow of river for quite some time. The formation of river blocks can cause havoc to the settlements downstream on its bursting. In the hilly terrain, landslides have been a major and widely spread natural disaster that often strike life and property and occupy a position of major concern. A case study. A massive landslide hit Pangi village near Rekong, PO in Kinnaur district of Himachal Pradesh and damaged a 200-meter stretch of Old Hindustan Tibet Road, National Highway 22. This landslide was triggered by intense blasting at Pangi village. Due to the blasting, this weak zone of slope collapsed and caused intense damage to the road and nearby villages. The Pangi village was completely vacated to avoid any possible loss of life. Mitigation mechanism. Advancement in scientific techniques has empowered us to understand what factors cause landslides and how to manage them. Some broad mitigation techniques of landslide are as follows. Hazard mapping. Locate areas prone to landslide. Hence, such areas can be avoided for building settlements. Construction of retention wall to stop land from slipping. Increase in the vegetation cover is an effective way to arrest landslide. The surface drainage control works are implemented to control the movement of landslide along with rainwater and spring flows. Soil. The thin layer of grainy substance covering the surface of earth is called soil. It is closely linked to land. Landforms determine the type of soil. Soil is made up of organic matter, minerals, and weathered rocks found on the earth. This happens through the process of weathering. The right mix of minerals and organic matter make the soil fertile. Weathering. The breaking up and decay of exposed rocks by temperature changes or frost action, plants, animals, and man. Do you know it takes hundreds of years to make just 1 centimeter of soil? Factors of soil formation. The major factors of soil formation are the nature of the parent rock and climatic factors. Other factors are topography, role of organic material, and time taken for the composition of soil formation. All these differ from place to place. Soil factors affecting soil formation. Parent rock determines color, texture, chemical properties, mineral content, permeability. Climate, temperature, rainfall influence, rate of weathering, and humus. Relief, altitude and slope determine accumulation of soil. Flora, fauna, and microorganisms affect the rate of humus formation. Time, determine thickness of soil profile. Degradation of soil and conservation measures. Soil erosion and depletion are the major threats to soil as a resource. Both human and natural factors can lead to degradation of soil. Factors which lead to soil degradation are deforestation, overgrazing, overuse of chemical fertilizers or pesticides, rainwash, landslides, and floods. Some methods of soil conservation are mulching. The bare ground between plants is covered with a layer of organic matter like straw. It helps to retain soil moisture. Con- Contour barriers. Stones, grass, soil are used to build barriers along contours. Trenches are made in front of the barriers to collect water. Rock dam. Rocks are piled up to slow down the flow of water. This prevents gullies and further soil loss. Terrace farming. These are made on the steep slopes so that flat surfaces are available to grow crops. They can reduce surface runoff and soil erosion. Intercropping. Different crops are grown in alternate rows and are sown at different times to protect the soil from rainwash. Contour plowing. Plowing parallel to the contours of a hill slope to form a natural barrier for water to flow down the slope. Shelter beds. In the coastal and dry regions, rows of trees are planted to check the wind movement to protect soil cover. Water. Water is a vital renewable natural resource. Three-fourths of the Earth's surface is covered with water. It is therefore appropriately called the water planet. It was in the primitive oceans that life began almost 3.5 billion years back. Even today, the oceans cover two-thirds of the Earth's surface and support a rich variety of plant and animal life. The ocean water is, however, saline and not fit for human consumption. Freshwater accounts for only about 2.7%. Nearly 70% of this occurs as ice sheets and glaciers in Antarctica, Greenland, and mountain regions. Due to their location, they are inaccessible. Only 1% of fresh water is available and fit for human use. It is found as groundwater, as surface water in rivers and lakes, and as water vapor in the atmosphere. Fresh water is therefore the most precious substance on earth. Water can neither be added nor subtracted from the earth. Its total volume remains constant. Its abundance only seems to vary because it is in constant motion, cycling through the oceans, the air, the land, and back again, through the processes of evaporation, precipitation, and runoff. This, as you already know, is referred to as the water cycle. Do you know, in 1975, the consumption of water for human use was 3,850 cu kilometer per year. It soared to more than 6,000 cu kilometer per year in the year 2000. Do you know a dripping tap wastes 1200 liters in a year? Humans use huge amount of water not only for drinking and washing, but also in the process of production. Water for agriculture, industries generating electricity through reservoirs of dams are the other than uses. Increasing population, rising demands for food and cash crops, increasing urbanization and rising standards of living are the major factors leading to shortages in supply of fresh water, either due to drying up of water sources or water pollution. Problems of water availability. There is scarcity of water in many regions of the world. Most of Africa, West Asia, South Asia, parts of Western USA, Northwest Mexico, parts of South America, and entire Australia are facing shortages in freshwater supply. Countries located in climatic zones most susceptible to droughts face great problems of water scarcity. Thus, water shortages may be a consequence of variation in seasonal or annual precipitation, or the scarcity is caused by overexploitation and contamination of water sources. Do you know? Have you ever heard about a water market? Amreli city in Saurashtra region with a population of 1.25 lakhs is completely dependent on purchasing water from the nearby talukas. Conservation of water resources. Access to clean and adequate water sources is a major problem facing the world today. Steps have to be taken to conserve this dwindling resource. Even though water is a renewable resource, its overuse and pollution make it unfit for use. Discharge of untreated or partially treated sewage, agricultural chemicals, and industrial effluents in water bodies are major contaminants. They pollute water with nitrates, metals, and pesticides. Most of these chemicals being non-biodegradable reach human bodies through water. Water pollution can be controlled by treating these effluents suitably before releasing them in water bodies. Forest and other vegetation covers slow the surface runoff and replenish underground water. Water harvesting is another method to save surface runoff. Water is used for irrigating fields. The canals should be properly lined to minimize losses by water seepage. Sprinklers effectively irrigate the area by checking water losses through seepage and evaporation. In dry regions with high rates of evaporation, drip or trickle irrigation is very useful. The valuable water resource can therefore be conserved by adopting these means of conservation. Do you know rainwater harvesting is the process of collecting rainwater from rooftops and directing it to an appropriate location and storing it for future use. On an average, one spell of rain for 2 hours is enough to save 8,000 liters of water. Natural vegetation and wildlife. Some school children were visiting an exhibition on handicrafts. The articles in the exhibition were collected from different parts of the country. Mona picked up a bag and exclaimed, "This is a beautiful handbag." Yes, it and yes, it is made from jute, the teacher said. Do you see those baskets, lamp sets, and chairs? Those are made of canes and bamboos. In the eastern and northeastern humid regions of India, bamboo grows in plenty. Jessie was excited to see a silk scarf. See this beautiful scarf, the teacher explained that silk is obtained from silkworms that are bred on mulberry trees. The children understood that plants provide us with many different products that we use in our day-to-day life. Natural vegetation and wildlife exist only in the narrow zone of contact between the lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere that we call biosphere. In the biosphere, living beings are interrelated and interdependent on each other for survival. This life supporting system is known as the ecosystem. Vegetation and wildlife are valuable resources. Plants provide us with timber, give shelter to animals, produce oxygen we breathe, protect soil so essential for growing crops, act as shelter belts, help in storage of underground water, give us fruits, nuts, latex, turpentine oil, gum, medicinal plants, and also the paper that is so essential for your studies. There are innumerable uses of plants, and you can add some more. Wildlife includes animals, birds, insects, as well as the aquatic life forms. They provide us milk, meat, hides, and wool. Insects like bees provide us honey, help in pollination of flowers, and have an important role to play as decomposers in the ecosystem. The birds feed on insects and act as decomposers as well. Vulture, due to his ability to feed on dead livestock, is a scavenger and considered a vital cleanser of the environment. So, animals big or small, all are integral to maintaining balance in the ecosystem. Do you know vultures in the Indian subcontinent were dying of kidney failure shortly after scavenging livestock treated with diclofenac, a painkiller that is similar to aspirin or ibuprofen. Efforts are on to ban the drug for livestock use and breed vultures in captivity. Distribution of natural vegetation. The growth of vegetation depends primarily on temperature and moisture. The major vegetation types of the world are grouped as forest, grasslands, scrubs, and tundra. In areas of heavy rainfall, huge trees may thrive. The forests are thus associated with areas having abundant water supply. As the amount of moisture decreases, the size of trees and their density reduces. In the regions of moderate rainfall, short stunted trees and grasses grow, forming the grasslands of the world. In dry areas of low rainfall, thorny shrubs and scrubs grow. In such areas, plants have deep roots and leaves have thorny and waxy surface to reduce loss of moisture by transpiration. Tundra vegetation of cold polar regions comprise of mosses and lichens. Forests are broadly classified as evergreen and deciduous, depending on when they shed their leaves. Evergreen forests do not shed their leaves simultaneously in any season of the year. Deciduous forests shed their leaves in a particular season to conserve loss of moisture through transpiration. These forests are further classified as tropical or temperate based on their location in different latitudes. You have learned in detail about the various forest types, their distribution, and the associated animal life in the previous class. Today, there are many more people in the world than there were 2 centuries back. To feed the growing numbers, large areas of forest have been cleared to grow crops. Forest cover all over the world is vanishing rapidly. There is an urgent need to conserve this valuable resource. Conservation of natural vegetation and wildlife. Forests are our wealth. Plants give shelter to animals and together they maintain the ecosystem. Changes of climate and human interferences can cause the loss of natural habitats for the plants and animals. Many species have become vulnerable or endangered, and some are on the verge of extinction. Deforestation, soil erosion, constructional activities, forest fires, tsunami, and landslides are some of the human made and natural factors which together accelerate the process of extinction of these great natural resources. One of the major concerns is the increasing incidence of poaching that result in a sharp decline in the number of particular species. The animals are poached for collection and illegal trade of hides, skins, nails, teeth, horns, as well as feathers. Some of these animals are tiger, lion, elephant, deer, black buck, crocodile, rhinoceros, snow leopard, ostrich, and peacock. This can be conserved by increasing awareness. National parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves are made to protect our natural vegetation and wildlife. Conservation of creeks, lakes, and wetlands is necessary to save the precious resource from depletion. National Park, a natural area designated to protect the ecological integrity of one or more ecosystems for present and future generations. There is a balance in the environment if the relative number of species is not disturbed. Human activities in several parts of the world have disturbed the natural habitats of many species. Due to indiscriminate killings, several birds and animals have either become extinct or are on the verge of extinction. Awareness programs like social forestry and Van Mahotsav should be encouraged at the regional and community level. School children should be encouraged for bird watching and visiting nature camps so that they appreciate the habitat of varied species. Many countries have passed laws declaring that the trades as well as killing of birds and animals are illegal. In India, killing of lions, tigers, deers, great Indian bustards, and peacocks have been banned. An international convention CITES has been established that lists several species of animals and birds in which trade is prohibited. Conservation of plants and animals is an ethical duty of every citizen. Biosphere reserves, series of protected areas linked through a global network intended to demonstrate the relationship between conservation and development. Do you know CITES, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora is an international agreement between governments. It aims to ensure that international trade in specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten their survival. Roughly 5,000 species of animals and 28,000 species of plants are protected. Bears, dolphins, cacti, corals, orchids, and aloes are some examples. तो ये है इस चैप्टर का एक्सरसाइज और इसी के साथ हमारा आज का चैप्टर कंप्लीट होता है। तो अगर आप चैनल पर नए हैं तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिए और नोटिफिकेशन आइकन पर क्लिक कर दीजिए ताकि आपको सारे वीडियोस के अपडेट्स मिल सकें। और अगर आपको वीडियो अच्छी लगे तो लाइक कर दीजिए, साथ ही अपने दोस्तों के साथ शेयर कीजिए ताकि उन्हें भी हेल्प हो सके। तो हमारा आज का सेशन यहीं तक था। थैंक यू, थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग।